Hey guys, this is Shekhar, your friend, and today we are going to talk about the whole life cycle of design thinking. We are going to talk about all the frameworks and tools that we use in design thinking, and we also call it we also know design thinking as a framework of innovation. So everything that we cover would be a step by step to solve a complex problem and find an innovative solution out of it. We are also calling it a framework of innovation. So let's get started. So unlike the traditional approach of innovation where people think that it comes from out of box, we are here to tell you that innovation is a science and it can be achieved by following a step by step guide. So the first step in this framework is deep observation. Now deep observation techniques are methods to look at situation closely and create profound interpretation. Now understand that it is not a simple observation, because a simple observation you look at thing and you write it down, or probably you just have it in mind. But what we show you here is that there are a set of frameworks which will give you a more broader context, a more detailed concept, a more detailed analysis of a problem. So therefore we call it a deep observation technique. In deep observation technique we have techniques like AEIOU. Now so now activities, environment, interaction, objects, and users. This is what AEIOU is. Now we are going to talk about detailed of AEIOU framework in another video, but for now just understand that AEIOU framework is a method to observe deeply. Another framework, another tool that we used for deep observation is look, ask, and try. And the third one, we call it the journey map. There are more tools and framework for deep observation, but these are the three most important and the most profoundly used observation techniques. Now as we mentioned in our previous videos, the core of any innovation is a great insight, and therefore from observation to insight is a journey which only can be traveled if you work really hard towards it. And therefore we are going to talk about why framework, which is used to get from observation to insight. There is another framework, we call it why how laddering. We are also going to talk about that in another video, but for now just remember these names: why framework and why how laddering. These are the two framework that will help you in getting from an observation to an insight. And finally, once we have an insight, it is important to identify the opportunity area, because an insight might give you the real cause or reason of any problem, but then you will have to see if there is an opportunity, if there is an opportunity for you. So you might be might be a company, a multinational company, or you might be a single individual entrepreneur. So you will have to find out which area to focus in, and there that area of focus can be determined by using these three framework. We call it how might I, also known as webbing technique, and emotional analysis, and journey map. Again, journey map is here. So these three methods are used to identify the opportunity area once we have an insight. Now comes the next stage, we call it ideation. Now ideation is again very important. Why it is important is this is where you find innovative solution. So once we have an insight, we know the root cause of a problem, then we want to find a solution around it, and this is how we find a solution. We call it ideation. So ideation can again be done by two different techniques, two different frameworks. One is called convergent technique, the other one is called divergent technique. An example of convergent technique is SIT technique. Again, you can read about all these techniques in a different video, but for now remember these names: SIT technique, which is convergent technique, and then we have a divergent technique, which is example of divergent technique is nominal group. Finally, as you all know, so far you might have seen a few video, but design thinking says that the innovation or the ideation is a iterative process, and therefore once you have an idea, that is not the end of it. You need to develop that idea, because an idea might give you one small solution, one problem. You might be able to solve one problem, but when you sell it to the customer, you will have to package it with additional features, and that's why you need to move from ideation to concept development. Now concept development, we have again two different frameworks. One is called conventional method, which include round robin technique, alternate world technique, and then we have conventional methods, which are concept posters, six hat techniques, brainstorming. So these are the conventional method. We will talk about all these frameworks in different set of videos, but understand that if you go through this life cycle, if you start from very basic observation, you build an insight from that, then you find the opportunity around area around that, then use these ideation technique to solve that problem, and then you develop that technique, you develop that solution using concept poster to finally arrive at a solution. If you follow this step, it is possible to innovate in any field. We are not talking about any particular industry, any particular problem. The solution like SIT technique has been found useful in in pharmaceutical industry. It has been found useful in automobile industry. So there is no limitation of where this framework can be used. It can be used anywhere and everywhere. Feel free to ask me any question if you have on this lecture. This is one of the important session, and I want you to go through it a few more times if you want to understand it in detail. But yes, if you know this, if you know these points for sure, and if you follow these steps for one by one, the way it has been mentioned here, definitely you will find a very innovative solution, a real innovation of your problem by the end of all these uh, all these methods. So that's all, guys. Thanks for hearing it. Best of luck and keep innovating.